who see the big lie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. I'm Dave vonKleist. These are the WTF Reports, and we're holding the mainstream media, legacy media's feet to the fire because they propagandize, they gaslight, they massage, they manipulate, and they lie. And guess what, big boys? You won't be trusted anymore. All right, well, thank you for joining me on today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and this broadcast is brought to you in part by Get More Tank. If you haven't already heard about it, yeah, it's something that you need to perk up your ears and give it a listen. Get yourself informed about this great product that increases your mileage and it boosts your engine power. It's a good product, folks. I wouldn't be dealing with it if it wasn't. Yep, Get More Tank for $20. You get 5 tablets, and you start putting those tablets in your gas tank, and within, in about 3 or 4 tanks of gas, you're going to see improved gas mileage, 15 to 20%, depending upon your make and model and your driving habits. So for more information, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Scroll down to the bottom or click on the sponsors page, and you'll find out more about Get More Tank. Okay, that said, where do we start today? There's just so much going on every day. It's like a soap opera. It really is. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been addicted to a soap opera. Remember that TV show Dallas? And it was on every week. I was like 30 years ago or something like that. And people were on the edge of their seats waiting for the next episode, Or, of course, there's the daytime soap operas. They get you hooked in on some emotional or, scandalous story or something like that. Well, what's going on in this world is just like a soap opera. And those of us who are paying attention, we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Something's got to happen. Something's got to happen. When? I don't know. But maybe it'll be when the American people finally open up their eyes and realize it's up to us. A lot of conservatives out there, people are saying, well, when is the military going to start arresting people and having those military tribunals? When are we going to start seeing the arrests? We want to see the arrests. Perp walks, orange jumpsuits, what do you call them? Ankle bracelets, handcuffs. When are we going to see that? Well, maybe the military is waiting for the American people to wake up. Maybe they're waiting for a tipping point. And we are slowly getting there, but it's too doggone slow. It's like watching a train wreck in super slow-mo. I mean, we sort of know what's going to happen. We just wanted to get it over with, But anyway, I sincerely think that the military is waiting for the American people to wake up. Because unfortunately, there are too many brain-dead Americans that have been, they've been consistently consuming intellectual fecal matter being force-fed to them by the mainstream media, and they don't know what reality is. Well, a lot of people are starting to step outside of the mainstream legacy media, and that's why I start every single program with "You Won't Be Trusted Anymore." That song is 30 years old. And so the more that people start looking outside of the confines of the mainstream media narrative, the more people start waking up. But unfortunately, a huge segment of the American population is all wrapped up in the NBA finals, Here come the finals. And then there's the Stanley Cup playoffs. And of course, baseball season is well underway now. And they had the NFL draft last week or a week or so ago. I forget when. But the point is that people are not paying attention to what's really important. I mean, I like sports just like anybody else, but I realize its position. How many times have you seen a football game where some guy is shirtless, he's painted his body, his team colors, and they're out there in sub-zero temperatures, screaming at the top of their lungs, so dedicated to supporting their team, but that has nothing whatsoever to do with the course of humanity. Yeah, it's fun and everything, but let's get our priorities straight. The fate of the entire civilized world is in the balance right now, and people aren't paying attention. And I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I don't think so. I don't think I'm stupid. I know I'm not crazy, and I know I don't lie. So anyway, that said, I just wanted to get that out there because there is so much misinformation out there. And you know what's really amazing is I got a couple of quick clips here from the most unlikely people talking about misinformation and untruths. I mean, check this out. Here, I'm sure you'll recognize this gentleman's voice. This is Anthony Fauci on this particular subject. You'll listen.
Do not accept and shrug your shoulders at the normalization of untruths, because we're living in an era now, there's so much distortion of reality, outright fabrication, lying, conspiracy theories, that it's so prevalent that people sort of shrug their shoulders and say, well, nothing to do about it, it's the new normal. No, do not accept that as the new normal, because whenever you have the acceptance of untruths and distortions, ultimately, it's going to erode at the foundation of the social order and our democracy. And I think history has shown that. If anybody just looks back as recently as the 1930s and early 40s in Europe when that happened, be careful. Don't accept the normalization of untruths.
You know what? I agree with every single word that he just said. But I got to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, does the stench of hypocrisy curl your nose hairs like it does mine? Well, maybe this is the plan. I forget who it was that said, what was it, Zbigniew Brzezinski said, when the American people find that everything that they know is wrong, then we know that our job is complete. Something like that. But maybe that's the whole plan. Maybe that's exactly what they want. You know, and I have to say, you know, he's not the only one that was screaming about propaganda and misinformation, you know. You just heard Anthony Fauci. I mean, you talk about hypocrisy. How many times did he lie before Congress? Rand Paul caught him in all that stuff. Fauci's own emails, you know, showed that he was lying. So where do we draw the line here? When do we find out what is true and what is not? Maybe we should ask Hillary Clinton. Hey, Hillary, what did you have to say?
And boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence because Trump.
Really? Yeah, a better deterrent. Yeah, let's, the FISA warrants. Yeah, I tell you, you talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my word. More and more disinformation, more and more lies, more subterfuge. And you know what? It wasn't just Fauci. It wasn't just Hillary. You know, there were other people out there that were just as guilty as lying. Let me see if I can't find that one. I'm sure that you will find, let me see, where is that? I'm scrolling through here. I got so many tabs open. I grab all these audio clips from different platforms. But let me see, where is it? Where is it? We've got, oh, here it is. Ah, yes, here it is. You want to talk about misinformation? You want to talk about propaganda? Who? Pray tell, who are the propagandists? Could it be Bill Clinton? Could it be GW? Could it be Barack Obama? I don't know. What do you guys belly up to the bar? Tell me what you think. Tell me about your take on misinformation. Or maybe you should just throw some out there so we can see it, for example. What do you got to say?
Our fellow Americans.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans.
And soon, they will be available to everyone.
The science is clear. These vaccines will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
They could save your life.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
That's the first step to ending the pandemic and moving our country forward.
Remember that? Remember that, folks? Yeah. Bill Clinton, George Bush, GW, and Barack Obama pushing the vaccine. Oh, I can't say that. Hokey pokey thingy ding. Excuse me. I didn't say that. I didn't say it. Amazing. It's wonderful to live in a free country. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, it's the subterfuge and the hypocrisy is just unflaming believable. It's crazy. It's just nuts. Anyway, Let me see. There's a couple of other things I wanted to get to. Speaking of the media is on the ropes right now. And well, they should be. Because they've been lying to the American people for decade after decade after decade. And now, I guess they're starting to feel the pinch. Because Trump is not putting up with it. He calls it the fake news. Okay, I just call them what they are. They're liars. And I've been, like I said, I've been screaming that from the rooftops for 30 years. But anyway, what's going on with Trump and the media? Give a listen to this one.
Breaking news, ABC just proved it. Fake news isn't a flaw, it's a cancer. Under pressure from Trump, the president of ABC News has officially resigned. But let's get one thing straight. Trump didn't silence the media. He's saving it. From 2016 to 2024, 87% of negative Trump coverage was later proven false, Fox News data. Harvard found that liberal media outlets stigmatized Republicans 3 times more than the Taliban. Internal whistleblowers say ABC execs ordered every piece must include 3 anti-Trump keywords. And now, after Trump launched a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS for deceptive editing, executives are quitting. Critics scream media suppression. But what if this isn't an attack on freedom, but a surgical strike on corruption? Trump doesn't want to control the media. He wants to clean it. Fake news used to be a slogan. Now it's turning into a reckoning. The media mocked him for years. Now they're drafting resignation letters.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yep, the media is really on the ropes right now. Well, they should be. And I hear rumblings that The View, basically the administration told The View, not the administration, but the higher-ups on the ABC network, had told them, Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg and stuff, to back off. Stop with the political rhetoric. You were supposed to be a program about women's issues, and they got super hyper-political and did nothing but start bashing everybody on the red side, the conservative side. That's become standard operating procedure for a lot of these networks, and that includes the late-night talk show hosts. So, what's the solution? I don't know. I keep saying maybe we need to have those perp walks. Maybe they need to be on ankle bracelets and handcuffs and orange jumpsuits, but I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, across the board, there's a couple of other things. It seems that there is a reverse discrimination going on here, and there was a report on News Nation about the white farmers are being discriminated against as far as the agricultural loans are concerned. That's really interesting. As a matter of fact, this is a report from News Nation. Let me see, where is it here? Yeah, here it is. Okay, give this a listen. This is from News Nation and what's been happening to the farmers who happen to be Caucasian. They don't like Caucasians for some reason. I wonder where that's coming from. Give this a listen.
When former President Joe Biden left Washington, D.C., he was leaving behind a DEI secret involving American farmers and $800 million in taxpayer money. And a United States Department of Agriculture whistleblower is now sounding the alarm.
It was to pay off anyone who wasn't a white male's loan. That was the only qualification for this loan forgiveness.
And what was the reaction?
So it was really silent. They were trying to keep this hushed because of the obvious implications of race-based loan forgiveness.
Race-based loan forgiveness. It's in black and white, buried in the American Rescue Plan Act. The United States Secretary of Agriculture shall provide a payment in an amount up to 120% of the outstanding indebtedness of each socially disadvantaged farmer or rancher. The act explicitly lays out who's considered socially disadvantaged.
So just to be clear, if you were American Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian Black, African American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Hispanic, or Latino, and you were in that group, you were told you didn't have to pay your bills, essentially?
Yes, that's correct, and that your loan would be forgiven up to 120% of the loan value.
To me, it was combating racism with more racism. I I couldn't believe that it was happening in today's age.
James Dunlap owns a small family farm in Baker City, Oregon. He works 2 other jobs to keep his farm afloat, but did not qualify for the loan forgiveness because he's white.
I knew what they were saying was that minority farmers were going to have their loans forgiven for no reason other than they decided to, they being the government. So.
And how much money they had nothing to do with it.
As far as I understand, not at all. It wasn't about hardship. It wasn't about financial situations at all. It was purely what box you checked under that ethnicity line on your application.
If you checked a non-white box, you got the free money, no matter how rich you were. James and other white farmers sued the Biden administration and were successful. The loan forgiveness for any farmer who's not white was stopped. The judge writing in his decision, it was an actual constitutional harm that cannot be undone. And James and other white farmers will suffer the harm of being excluded from eligibility for that debt relief program solely on the basis of his race. That harm, he has shown, is irreparable. But this is where things get interesting. The Biden administration was not ready to give up. They passed the Inflation Reduction Act to help farmers who couldn't pay their loans. It was supposed to help all farmers, but News Nation has learned all farmers were not told about it. News Nation obtaining a copy of this email that was sent out to share information about new payments and or loan modifications that may assist you. But here's the catch. Our whistleblower says it was only sent to the minority farmers, aka the socially disadvantaged group. And he says USDA workers were even instructed to tell that group to stop paying their loans because they would still be forgiven. The whistleblower says none of the white farmers he works with received the email.
They got nothing. You know, it might not meet the legal definition of fraud, but it isn't right. It was discriminatory, it was unethical, and the people who pushed it are still in charge of the agency.
They're still in charge?
Yes. At our national office, they're still, Trump hasn't got rid of them.
We reached out to the United States Department of Agriculture. They did not respond to our specific questions or our questions about what the whistleblower said, that some of these DEI policies still remain in effect and in some of the documentation. But they did send us this statement, Elizabeth. I want to read you in part. It says, it is absurd that while the Biden administration was driving up inflation, American taxpayers were forced to fund billions in woke DEI initiatives. No one should be shocked that Biden weaponized bipartisan farm programs to discriminate and provide taxpayer dollars to one group based on race and not on merit. On day one, Secretary Rollins issued a memo to rescind all DEI programs. Instead, USDA is reprioritizing unity, equality, meritocracy, and colorblind policies. And the USDA says they are also reviewing the Inflation Reduction Act funding to ensure that that money is now going out to all farmers equally instead of just one specific group.
All right. Brian Entin, thank you so much.
Okay, well, you know, it's deeds, not words, folks. It's deeds and not words. You know, talk is cheap. And I think the damage has already been done. And I don't know. I feel terrible for the farmers out there because they're going through it. They are really going through it. The screws are being put to them. So I don't know what the solution is. How about orange jumpsuits, handcuffs, and ankle bracelets? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, in other news, more and more Americans are realizing what the reality of the pandemic and what has happened about that. I just played a couple of clips, from Tony Fauci and from Hillary Clinton about the misinformation. And Hillary even said that, there should be consequences. Well, yeah, there should be consequences. I mean, think about it. I mean, if the mainstream media, CBS, of course, is facing a lawsuit right now because of their creative editing of the interview with Kamala Harris just before, the night before the election. We know now that we've seen the unedited version, and yeah, she was just rambling. So they edited it to make her look good. Well, that's not right, especially the night before an election, for God's sakes. WTF? So they're facing a big lawsuit. Now ABC is facing another lawsuit. And, well, they should. And so what are the consequences? When are some of these people going to be arrested? When's it going to happen? I'm not holding my breath. No siree, Bob. I'm not holding my breath at all. Let me see here. I'm trying to find another a clip here. Where is it here? Yeah. Oh my gosh. And an unrelated thing, you know, everybody's on fire with this issue about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino saying, oh yeah, Epstein killed himself. Yep. They've totally reversed themselves. And as a matter of fact, yesterday, Kash Patel doubled down and he said, yep, Epstein killed himself. Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't no about a doubt it. Well, guess what? The press isn't buying it. They're not buying it. As a matter of fact, there was yesterday at the White House briefing, Carolyn Leavitt had to field the following question from one of the reporters. Wait till you hear this one. This is cool.
So over the weekend, President Trump posted to Truth Social a video highlighting what most people call the Clinton body count, which is the strange number of suicides that seem to happen in Clinton circles. I have a headline here from the Washington Post that said, Trump peddles false conspiracy theories tying the Clintons to several deaths. So I just wanted to highlight real quick, this wasn't in Trump's video, but this is from the Arkansas Times, and it's the death of Mark Middleton, who was a former Clinton White House aide, who was found dead on a Clinton Foundation property. And I'll just quote from the Arkansas Times. Middleton apparently shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and also hung himself from a tree with an extension cord. So I have no idea how somebody commits suicide that way, but if the Washington Post is here, maybe you can enlighten us as to how that was actually a suicide. So anyways, that's just a lead into my question about the most famous Clinton-related suicide, which is that of Jeffrey Epstein. There's still a lot of questions around that case. You've released phase 1 of the Epstein files. What was missing from that is any connection to his ties to intelligence agencies. And that's
okay, I'm going to stop it. What was missing is any ties to intelligence agencies. Remember Dan Bongino? A month or so ago, maybe I can go back and pull that clip up, where he's talking about, yeah, we know Epstein was videotaping all these people. Yeah, we know there was blackmail going on. Yeah, he said, you think Epstein has all those files? He says, no. There's some Middle Eastern country out there that has them. And he couldn't put the puzzle pieces together. We all know Epstein was tied with Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of Robert Maxwell, a Mossad agent. Mossad. I wonder which Middle Eastern country that has something to do with. My God, a grade schooler could figure this out. So here's the rest of his question to Carolyn Leavitt.
That's really the whole story, that not just trafficking young girls, but doing it on behalf of intelligence agencies and even potentially as part of a blackmail ring with potential ties to the Israeli government. So for phase 2, when can we expect it? Will it have information pertaining to those aspects of the Epstein case?
I know the Attorney General has committed to releasing those files. I would defer you to the Department of Justice on her timeline, but when she's made a promise in the past, she has kept it, and I'm certain that she will in this case as well.
Yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. Man, I tell you, they're just a blur from the waist down because they're dancing so hard. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's see. What else have we got here? I'm just all over the place with... okay. Here we go. We were just hearing about the discrimination of the white farmers, okay, because of DEI. Yeah, they're going to give the loans and give 120% forgiveness to every race and ethnic group other than Caucasians. Now, that's called reverse discrimination. How they get away with it? That's because the American people are more concerned with the playoffs. That's why they get away with it. And you know what? They're right in your face. There's a woman by the name of Carol Baker. She's from the CDC. You know what her solution to the problem is? Wait till you hear what her solution is. Oh my gosh, here it is.
The solution. Every study published in the last 5 years, when you look at vaccine refusers, I'm not talking about, hesitants, most of them we can talk into coming to terms, but refusers. We'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States.
Yeah, just get rid of all the whites. You want to talk about reverse discrimination? OMG, WTF. Come on. Are you serious? Oh, my gosh. Well, in a related story, the EU, the EU now wants to make any criticism of migration. They want to make a law against it, so you can't complain about immigrants coming into your country. Listen to this one.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, dear guests, it's nice to have you here on our Strasbourg press conference. And I would like to say some words on the Global Compact on Migration. On the 10th and 11th of December, there will be an international congress in Marrakesh, Morocco, with regard to this Global Compact on Migration. And the participating countries are set to sign this agreement. And although this joint agreement isn't binding, it's still meant to be the legal framework on which the participating countries commit themselves to build new legislation.
Listen to this.
And one basic element of this new agreement is the extension of the definition of hate speech. The agreement wants to criminalize migration speech. Criticism of migration will become a criminal offense.
Whoa.
And media outlets, and that also concerns you, that give room to criticism of migration can be shut down. The Compact for Migration is legalization of mass migration.
Amazing. They will call it hate speech if you criticize migration. This is how much crazier can things get? Oh, man. Anyway, okay, I'm going to take a pause for the cause here, and I want to open up the phone lines. The phone number here is 215-867-8255. Now, I want to remind you, for those of you that are listening to a rebroadcast, this broadcast goes out live at 12 noon Mountain Time. Now, that's 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you're in any one of those time zones, and that means you're listening live during that time. If you're listening, like, say, in the evening or the early morning, those are replays and you can't call in. But we're going live right now, and the time now is 2:28 Eastern Time or 11:28 Pacific. Figure out your other time zones. So if you're listening right now, live, you can call in, 215-867-8255. Want to make that clear because there's a lot of replays that go on. And I want to open up the phone lines, especially to anyone who's using a Wave Watch. Yeah, we've been letting folks know about the Wave Watch, the Rife technology that's been shrunk down to the size of a wristwatch. And I've been getting some good feedback from people sending me a couple of emails. They love the Wave Watch. And if you're using one, I'd love to hear from you right now. What is your testimony? And I want to emphasize that using the Wave Watch, I'm not here to, to say it's going to treat or cure any malady or issue that you're having. But a lot of folks are realizing that Rife technology and frequencies, yes, that's true. Tesla was right. Everything is frequency. And yes, Royal Raymond Rife took that and he started doing some research on it with his incredible microscope. A lot of folks don't know he developed a microscope, and this is back in the 20s and 30s, in 1920s, almost 100 years ago. And he built a microscope with lenses and prisms, and it could magnify 50,000 times. That's incredible, because with today's technology, you've got to do you have to irradiate whatever it is that you want to look at with an electron. You got to have using an electron microscope. So that means you have to irradiate what it is that you're going to look at, and that means you're going to kill it. But Royal Raymond Rife, he could magnify 50,000 times and see viruses in their living state and bacteria in their living state. And he realized that exposing them to certain frequencies would either help them proliferate or it could destroy them. So he could look at a virus and explode it with a certain frequency. Likewise, he could look at different cells, skin cells, kidney cells, blood cells, whatever, and certain frequencies would help them thrive and proliferate. So this is the technology of the Rife technology. And this is why the Wave Watch is a pretty incredible piece of equipment. And I'm using mine, and I'm running a whole bunch of different different programs. I'm running programs on parasites, on my hearing, because when you get up in age like I am, and you've always been a musician, your hearing starts to get a little wonky. And anyway, point is that a lot of people out there are using and loving their Wave Watch. So if you're using one, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, 215-867-8255 is the number to call. Okay, let's see. There was another one that I had here. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. It is so crazy. There is, let me see, where is it? Okay, that's not the right tab. Okay. There was $93 billion that went out the door from the time that Trump was elected to the time he was sworn in as president. And in those 76 days, there was a woman by the name of Jennifer Granholm, and she was in charge of the Department of Energy under Biden. And in those 76 days, she shoveled out $93 billion in the last 76 days of Biden's being in office. And she put that money out there in the form of loans, quote-unquote loans, to quote-unquote green businesses that were not vetted, and they didn't even have a business plan. That's $93 billion. That's 3 times their annual budget is gone in 76 days. That's more than twice that what was spent in the last 15 years. You want to talk about corruption? $93 billion just gone. They can't track that. And meanwhile, according to Doge, and I wish they would codify the Doge cuts, when are they going to codify? I don't think they're going to be quite honest. That's right. All you folks that are conservatives and Republicans, and you're beating the drum for Trump and the Republicans, guess what? You're being had. Yep, you're being had. As a matter of fact, let's see. Here's when you stop and think about it. Okay, Trump has been in office now for 4 months. Okay, what's happened in those 4 months? Give a listen.
You guys want to hear some numbers that are probably going to piss you off? I'm kind of a numbers girl, so I thought I would share. I wanted to figure out how much is this Republican do-nothing Congress costing me and you in these first 130 days that they've been in session. Now, I recognize they've not worked 130 days, but I thought I'd be generous. So I took their public servant salaries plus their staff salaries, and I figured out in the first 130 days, it's cost me and you $150 million. About $150 million to do nothing. Well, they've actually passed 3 bills. I'm sorry, 3 bills. So each one of those bills has cost us $50 million. Do you not see what the play is here? The play is delay until destruction. It's the same one used in 2018 when they threw the House and enrolled in the impeachment. Why do you think the power brokers in the background being really quiet right now? Because they're in the back rooms making the deals on who's going to get tossed out. It's the same old playbook they use all the time. Yep. And everybody just sits around and watches the kabuki theater thinking things are going to be different. Thinking they're actually going to codify the Doge cuts when they benefit from those same things. They truly believe they're going to wait us out 17 months. The only winning strategy here, the only winning move is to stop playing the game.
Yep, the only winning move is to stop playing the game. She's absolutely right. When you're sitting at the poker table and you find out that everyone on the table is cheating, hey, take what's left of your chips and leave the table. And let the cheaters have their way. Well, I think we should take it a step further. I think the cheaters need to be detained. And I don't think that anything's going to be changing until those individuals are detained. There's just no way around it. If there's no consequences for your criminal activities, then they're just going to keep on with their criminal activities. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Let me see here. Sherry Tenpenny, let me see if I can find that. Sherry Tenpenny had a statement that she made. Let me see. Where is it? Oh, I thought I'd posted it here. I usually, when I find a clip like that, I post it on where I have quick access to it. But anyway, can't find it right now. I'll look for it while I bring you up to speed with this particular audio receipt. This is I played this one yesterday. This is, again, it's worth repeating because we need to see charges. We need to see people arrested for treason. Here he is.
We cannot move forward. The nation cannot move forward. I don't care how good our how much Trump, adjusts the economy, and he will, but we cannot move forward unless people are held accountable. And I mean very, very senior people, and they all know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about.
Names.
I've said it many times. It's the start with Obama and work your way down, right? I mean, and maybe you don't throw a former president into prison, but maybe you do. Maybe somebody says, well, who directed you, John Brennan? Who directed you, Jim Clapper? Who directed you, Susan Rice? Under oath, under the lights, and with the threat of prison, okay? And so who directed you? Well, if they say nothing, okay, then that's fine. Then you're going to go to prison. You're going to prison. You're going to prison for treason, okay? Treason. That's a very strong word. It's a very strong word.
Mm-hmm.
And like all these pardons, right? These pardons, the only thing that can't overcome a pardon is treason, is the commitment of treason. I mean, I get called a traitor all the time. And I say, well, wait a second. And, so if I'm a traitor, why am I walking the streets, right? If I committed treason, why am I walking the streets? I was never charged with that. They dismissed my case because they lied, right? And so, you think Mueller and Wiseman, Andrew Wiseman, who was the deputy to Mueller, would have let me go had I was a traitor or that I committed treason? The treason was committed against me as not just Mike Flynn, an Army general, but the national security advisor by a duly elected president of the United States. The income or the outgoing administration under Barack H. Obama committed treason. They committed a conspiracy to undermine a duly elected president, and it hasn't stopped.
No, it hasn't stopped. Absolutely right. And it's going to continue until we see the perp walks. I keep saying this, when is it going to happen? When are we going to see these people being arrested? Now, there's a lot of revelations coming out about the quote unquote plandemic, and the fact now that doctors all over the world are doing some very deep research, and they're all coming up with the same conclusion that this is not a hokey pokey thingy dingy. It is a biological weapon. It was released upon the American people and the rest of the world for one specific reason, and that's to reduce the population. Now, we know this is to be true, but the point is, though, is that a lot of doctors out there are facing a tremendous amount of guilt that they don't want to face it, so they deny it. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Peter McCullough shed a light on this particular issue very, very clearly. So if you know a doctor, and I know several of them, that all through the plandemic, yes, they were pushing the narrative. Yes, you need to get the hokey pokey thingy dingy. You and your entire family, yes, the kids too. Get everybody in here, stick out your arm, and get the hokey pokey thingy dingy. And now all this information about graphene oxide and the spike proteins. Oh, my God, that is just horrendous what they're finding out about the spike proteins. And then there's the graphene oxide and the fact that these nanotech machines, I don't know what the heck do you call them, nanobots, are self-assembling in the bloodstream of those who got the hokey pokey thingy dingy. Now, what's their purpose? Well, we have to go and look at some of the patents out there. And once you start to read the patents and the technology that they have, I mean, this is insane. This is like sci-fi. Because once they kick on those towers, they've been pushing the 5G issue. Over and over, 5G, you'll be able to download a movie a whole lot quicker, and your gaming will be that much better, a better experience. Yeah, you need to get a 5G phone and hook up to the 5G tower. Well, there's plenty of cell phone techs out there that open up a phone and say, look, there's no 5G technology in here. There's no way. There's no chip in here that's going to boost you up to 5G. So, why are they pushing 5G? Why are they telling you to get your phone with a 5G? Okay, if there's no 5G in there, then what are the towers all about? Well, it just so happens that the 5G technology in the towers are the same microwave frequencies in your microwave oven. Now, a lot of doctors are starting to figure this out, but when they start to just come across what the real truth is, they immediately shut their brains down because, well, I'll let Dr. Peter McCullough explain it. Here he is.
I think the average doctor is willfully blind because they've taken the vaccine themselves, probably multiple injections. They've promoted it among their family members. They've told their patients they should get the vaccine. And now it is psychologically impossible for them to come to the internal recognition that this has been a disastrous mistake for their own health and for the health of their family and their patients. This is so psychologically damaging. This is very similar to the days when doctors smoked and doctors advertised cigarettes.
Tens of thousands of doctors in all parts of the country, in every state of the union. Doctors in every branch of medicine were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" In this nationwide survey of general practitioners, surgeons, throat specialists, diagnosticians, and so on, the brand named most was Camel.
Yes, according to this survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
And doctors were convinced that smoking was safe. And they wrote articles saying that smoking was safe. It's identical. It took 40 years for doctors to come to the full recognition that they were gravely wrong. Here we are 3 years into this vaccine campaign, and there's no major chief of medicine in the United States who's come out and said, listen, I've changed my view, the vaccines aren't safe. Nothing. It's a stonewalling of America.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine the guilt that they would feel or that they are feeling? And because of that overwhelming sense of guilt, their brain shuts it down. Ego and pride come into play. And this is why so many people cannot and will not admit that they were wrong about something, because they're going to have to shift their entire schema of the world and basically, submit. And people don't want to do that. No, this is why we still have these problems, and we're still dealing with the subterfuge, the manipulation, the propaganda, the gaslighting, etc., etc. Because people cannot and will not admit that they were wrong about something. It doesn't equate. It's just not something that they can live with. And Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, I was looking for this clip earlier. I just found it here. Not Tenpenny. Excuse me, Dr. Lorraine Day. That's her name. Yeah. I remember Dr. Lorraine Day. She was a regular on the old Chuck Harder For the People broadcast. Anybody out there remember Chuck Harder? Rest his soul. Yeah, I was, as a matter of fact, I went down to the Telford Hotel a couple of times when I was married with Joyce, and we were traveling all over the country trying to get help for the veterans. And Joyce was a regular guest with Chuck Harder and with Art Bell. And anyway, Dr. Lorraine Day, bless her, she cured her own cancer with alternative treatments. But anyway, here's Dr. Lorraine Day on the issue of the mRNA hokey-pokey thingy-dingy. Here she is.
Do you believe that this mRNA vaccine is going to genetically modify?
Yes, it will. The mRNA will actually take a piece of your DNA out. It will replace it with a synthetic one and a synthetic piece. So, who knows what they're going to modify about you. But that also makes you patentable.
That's right.
They can own you. And let me tell you, they've already started the vaccinations.
Okay, I want to pause it. Did you understand what she just said? Once you have been genetically altered, you become genetically modified. And that means that you are patented. They own you.
They've already started them. They started them a long time ago because the test vaccinates you. The article right here in front of me, and here's what it says. Yes, they can vaccinate us through the nasal test swabs and target the brain. Now, here's the thing. As a doctor, I said, this is crazy because, you see, you're wearing a mask to cover your... Now, they would hate it. They would not allow you into a store if you just wear a mask over your nose. You got to wear it over your mouth because supposedly the COVID-19 is in your saliva. Well, if it's in your saliva, then all they have to do is swab the inside of your mouth like they do for a DNA test. But no, they take these long Q-tips and they stick them all the way back, almost into your brain. They stick them back to the back of the nasal sinuses and then they twist them. All right, here's what they're doing. First of all, there is a very thin plate of bone that covers the brain between the brain and the nasal sinus. And it's called the cribriform plate. And every doctor knows about the cribriform plate. All right. Now, the cribriform plate has some openings in it where olfactory nerves from the nose, go through that plate into the brain. And bone, this kind of bone in the cribriform plate is porous anyway. So substances can go through it. So when they take that swab and they put it back there, and twist it, what they're doing is depositing things back there. This, you can't see this, but this shows that they have nanoparticles that are actually on the ends of the Q-tips that they're putting in there that can get into your brain. They can be hooked up to the cloud. So they are already vaccinating you with the test. When you go to get tested, you are actually being vaccinated and implanted with nanoparticles.
Now that sounds crazy. That sounds nuts, right? Okay, remember the swab test? They were sticking that big long Q-tip up people's nose all the way up there to the blood-brain barrier. That's what she was talking about. And those little tiny particles, and matter of fact, I have the patent pulled up right now. Okay, these are the nasal swabs that they were sticking up at people's noses. Okay, and let me see here. I'm going to magnify this. This is the U.S. patent. The number is US 2013/0085-472A1. It was patented on April 4th of 2013. That was 12 years ago. Okay, so what is this? I will read the abstract. The invention is directed to a nasal delivery device comprising one or more microneedles and to methods of nasally administrating a composition with a nasal delivery device comprising one or more microneedles. In certain embodiments, the nasal delivery device comprises a substrate for administration of a composition to the nasal and or sinus mucosa, wherein the substrate is non-absorbent and comprises one or more microneedles. In some embodiments, the nasal delivery device comprises a reservoir comprising one or more therapeutic agents, wherein the reservoir is in fluid communication with one or more microneedles. So that little Q-tip, it wasn't a Q-tip. It had little tiny needles in there. They stick it up into your blood-brain barrier and deliver certain composition, whatever they called it. Let me see, where is it? The point is, though, is that, yeah, they were putting all this stuff in there, like Dr. Lorraine Day was saying. These are nano technological bots. This is insanity. Oh, my gosh. So how do we get away from it? I don't know. But what's it going to take? When are people going to stand up and scream, "We're mad as hell, we're not going to take this anymore"? And when are we going to say, we've had enough of your subterfuge, your gaslighting, your manipulating, massaging, and basically propagandizing and lying to everybody. And I just played several clips. You heard Tony Fauci. Hey, Tony. Liar! Yeah, and Hillary, you too. Liar! And Bill Clinton. Liar! GW. Liar! Obama. Liar! ABC. Liar! It goes on and on. Liar! Over and over again, they're lying to you. They say that the truth is never easy to find. So, ladies and gentlemen, how easy is it for you to turn on your television and channel surf through the mainstream networks, and yes, through Newsmax, and yes, OAN, yes, all of the alternative networks that have popped up over the past several years. How far is it got to go? How many times are you going to be lied to? Anyway, let me see. I got a couple other things I was going to get to today. Which one shall I share? Which one? Oh, here's another. This is the headline. This is so wrong. Did you know that San Francisco appointed a Chinese non-citizen to their elections commission? How does that happen? Think about it. A Chinese non-citizen who isn't even legally allowed to vote is now overseeing the elections and the election policies in San Francisco. My gosh, listen to this one here.
咁就其實喺2年前我嚟到三藩市嘅時候咧，咁我就認識咗好多原來三藩市有好多嘅
I can't understand her. Do you know why?
係好多非公民啊。
She's speaking Chinese. And she's in charge of the elections policies in San Francisco. This is madness. What's it going to take for the American people to finally, once and for all, wake up, break out the pitchforks and torches, and storm the castle? You know, these people who do this, they all have names, they all have addresses. You know, I don't know what it's going to take. But I really do believe this. You know, we're all waiting for the white hats, and I believe the white hats are real. I believe that there is an effort that's going on to dethrone the deep state and take them all down. But I think that the military is waiting for the American people to wake up, cross that tipping point. And you know, we're coming up on the biggest holiday, the biggest birthday celebration in our country. Of course, I'm referring to Independence Day. Some people say it's the 4th of July. That's a language substitute, you know. How would you feel if instead of saying Merry Christmas, how would you feel if we said, hey, Happy December 25th, and just took that word Christmas out of it? Some people would be very upset. You know, a lot of Christians would say, wait a second, wait. This is all about the birth of Jesus Christ. You know, so a lot of people would be upset if we took the word Christmas out of it. Merry Christmas. No, you can't say that. Say Happy December 25th. Yeah, people would be upset. But we don't have a problem when we say Happy July 4th. That's because we took the word independence. We took the issue about Independence Day off the table. Well, maybe that's the point. Well, guess what? Maybe, just maybe, it would be a good idea for us to actually read the Declaration of Independence. If Americans actually read it and thought about it, I'm going to give this a good think. Maybe they would apply the grievances that our founding fathers had against the British Crown. Maybe, just maybe, they would read the grievances and say, wait a minute, that's sort of happening here. So maybe, just maybe, some people would get off of their big fat pimple-covered butt and get involved. And like I said, maybe we should have a pitchforks and torches rally. You know, the American people have had enough. When is it going to stop? I'll tell you when it stops. When the American people finally figure out what it means when they say this is a government of, by, and for the people. And that means you. That means me. That means all of us. Now, I'm not advocating for any type of armed revolution, or I'm not advocating for insurrection. But I am advocating that the American people get involved, pay attention, listen, learn, think outside of the cage, and understand that it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to all of us to roll up our sleeves, and if we want to save this country, it's up to us to do it. Anyway, that said, we're flat out of time for today's installment of the WTF Reports. If you're enjoying the broadcast, I humbly and respectfully ask that you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Do some business with our advertisers. And if you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends and family. Okay, that said, we're out of here. I'll be back again with more audio receipts tomorrow. God bless you all. Stay safe, and above all, stay free. And I'll see you tomorrow.